Minding My Business, the CEO story with Ramesh Menon and Hrishi K.
Hello, elections in important states, Virat Kohli's 100 tests and Sreesanth's retirement means there's sufficient action in the country. And we're excited because the wheels of business seem to have started turning again. And when the word quote-unquote business is mentioned, I instinctively think of this show, Minding My Business, the CEO story. And my co-host, CEO of the Fever Network that includes Fever FM, Radio Nasha, Radio 1, Punjabi Fever, HT Smartcast, and many other businesses. All-round good man, Ramesh Menon. Hi, Ramesh.
Hi, Hrishi. Good to be back in another episode. And let's be clear about one thing. You're the actual heavyweight partner on this show. And I don't mean to talk about the kilograms or all that stuff. But having said that, I heard somewhere that you're sort of getting down to the business of losing weight and so on.
No such luck. Well, Ramesh,
but seriously, when people say that you're the heavyweight co-host, they only refer to your abilities on the mic. I thought.
Actually, they don't refer to my abilities on the mic when they say heavy co-host. They'll mean, this is going to turn like one of those motivational sessions for me on wellness and weight loss, because the CEO is on the show today. He's a friend who knows me from way back when I was half my current size. My size might have gone up, Ramesh, but his wit and sharp brain and business acumen have remained absolutely intact.
That's right. A man who over the last decade or so has run the DTH business. I mean, dominated the DTH business in a sense in the country. And today is poised to take on the future with another rebranding that he's done with his brand, and now becoming a cross-platform content aggregator and distributor. We're very happy to welcome Harit Nagpal, the dynamic MD and CEO of Tata Sky, now known as Tata Play. Hi Harit, welcome to the show. Good to see you again.
Thank you very much. Yes, I've known Hrishi for before even I remember, and before even he does. So thanks a lot for having me, and pleasure to be here.
Great to see you, Harit. Fantastic. Ramesh, let's get underway.
So Harit, let's start with, the 2 years have been pretty difficult. I realize that you're still working from home. How has COVID been for the business, and what's it been like the last 2 years?
Not complaining, given the situation in the country, and given we are a mass market brand, and given the situation in the country where there were inflationary pressures on human beings and people were trying to downsize or cut consumption. In that environment, we've held our ground. We were not allowed to take any price increases also for the last 3 years while our costs were going up. So we've held our ground, and that, I think, is God's grace.
When you joined Tata Sky 11 years ago, moving across from your role as Group Marketing Director of Vodafone, Tata Sky was fourth among the top 6 DTH distributors, Harit. And you really pushed the envelope. You made it such a strong brand. What was your strategy? How did you make it happen? If you could describe it in a nutshell.
Rishi, I've always believed that most businesses today are commodities, because, almost everybody, whatever business you pick up, name it, everybody has access to the technology, everybody has access to the capital. The price is equal to the lowest what anybody else in the market is charging for that category. Your distribution is also the same or similar. So you really don't have any real material competitive advantage. You have to, therefore, if you want to differentiate and go ahead of the others, you have to find what your competitive advantage is, what your differentiator is. So we actually had spent the first 1 year or so trying to look at our differentiator. What's going to be our differentiator, which is going to be sustainable. It cannot be unsustainable. Price cannot be a differentiator. Technology cannot be a differentiator. It's got to be something that's embedded in the culture of the organization. And we finally came down with 2 things that could be differentiators. One was innovation that we build in the products which customers find of use. And second was easy and simple to deal with. We haven't changed these 2 over the last 11 years. We've constantly been working only on these 2. Every day, my product has got to be easier and simpler to deal with. Every 3, 4, 5, 6 months, we've got to come out with some useful and inspiring innovation for the customer. And that's what has helped us.
The industry has changed dramatically. Lots of changes on content in the last few years. Is DTH penetration still growing, or the changes in internet penetration have affected the DTH business? and the pricing structures and the product packages have all changed. So what's really happening in the industry, and how have you managed to tackle that?
DTH is still growing. Television is still growing. I mean, if you look at it, there are if roughly there are 300 odd million homes in this country, about 100 million of them still do not have a television. You may look at it as a threat. I see that as an opportunity. So television viewing will only grow. And therefore, and all these homes are in such remote places that only DTH can cover them via satellite. So television is growing, continues to grow.
I remember reading something a year ago saying you had outsourced almost 50,000 jobs to partners responsible for installation, servicing, repairs. Curious to know, is that still the case, and why this thought process, if that is still the case?
Yes, it is. And when you say outsource, I want to put a caveat there. It is not abdicated. So I am still responsible. We as a company are still responsible for how these people conduct their job and how they behave with people. So we have our own platform. We outsource some of the doing, a lot of the doing actually, and that helps us scale. Because if we were to hire the last technician that goes and services you in the last village in the country, then it would be an impossible task to do that. So we outsource the job to partners who work on our platform, and we are responsible for their training, for their delivery, and the quality of service that they deliver to you.
Let's go to Tata Sky Binge, the OTT aggregation service that you launched a couple of years ago. How's that doing, and would you like to talk about that?
So that was an opportunity we saw some time ago, where we noticed that some of our subscribers had also started watching content on demand on OTT platforms. And then we realized that soon there'll be 10, 12, 13, 14, 20 applications which people will have to subscribe to, toggle between, and look for content from. For example, if you watch Bengali drama or you watch Tamil action movies, now when you sit down in the evening after your work to look for something in Tamil action, you'll have to go through some 12 apps to look for what's new in Tamil action, right? And then you would have had to subscribe individually to these 12 apps with different, subscription dates. So we said there is an opportunity for an aggregator here who will do the deals with these 12, 13, 14, 15, 20 apps or whatever they are, and also provide a front end, which is one common front end where I can look for Tamil action from across these apps. So I sit down in the evening after my work, switch on my phone or tablet or TV or whatever it is, go to the Tata Play Binge app, click on Tamil action, and I get 12 choices from across these 12, 13, 14 apps that are behind this. And I start watching in about 20 seconds after I switched on my television. So that was the thought process. That's how we set to design the product. And that's what Binge is all about.
Lovely. Genre-specific searches and throwing up content. Amazing. I just want to move to marketing and sales for a bit. Is it different for high-end consumers as opposed to mass market consumers, your approach? And if yes, then how?
Not really. We really believe that a customer subscribes to us to watch content, not to speak with us. So therefore, our teams have been constantly working on reducing the reasons for them to call us or speak to us. Whether it is a customer from the village or a customer from the city, customer who pays me 200 rupees a month or customer who pays me 1,000 rupees a month. Both are all are equally important. One customer going is a customer going. One customer unhappy is a customer unhappy. So we look at all ends. We look at the problem areas and not who it is coming from.
So you're saying basically, if there is a chap who's taking Netflix high end, plus bundling it with all the HD channels, in your book, I mean, you'll still treat him the same way.
Well, we look at his problems with the same amount of weightage as I would look at the problems faced by a person who's paying me 250 rupees and subscribing to a handful of live channels.
True.
Our job is to solve those problems so that he doesn't have to, and people like him don't have to call me again for a problem. That's it.
That actually brings us to Tata Play. You've sort of managed to bundle OTT as well as TV channels together. And what is your strategy going forward on this, and how is the pricing going to happen? Because that's really what people will be worried about, right?
Content is content. On average, if there are say 5 people in the house, there are 2 people who are watching only television. There are 2 people who are watching television and OTT both, and there is 1 person who's watching only OTT. Now, the television historically has always been a product that was subscribed to by the family. The family paid the bill for the television out of the family's budget, just like for electricity, water, cleaner, maid. You paid for this. It was a utility for which you paid, the family paid. But when it came to an OTT, the individual had to pay. Now, OTT is not cigarettes. That was, you pay out of your pocket. So, why? If parts of the family are consuming television like they're consuming OTT, then it should be a part of one bill, one subscription, going out of the family. And then different members of the family could be consuming it together or individually, independently. So we said, let's bundle the whole piece. So it's not about discount, it's more about convenience. That entire family's content consumption needs are coming in one bundle, and they can watch them independently or together, but it goes out of the family's bill.
So you'll find that we fritter sometimes from business to non-business questions. Now, I noticed during the peak of the pandemic, a bunch of field service guys were identified to look out for repairs of only senior citizens. And I thought that was fabulous, having a 78-year-old father and a 74-year-old mother. How many repairs a day were you doing for senior citizens, and what else did you undertake to tide through the crisis for them, for the consumer?
It was tough. And it was tough to first get permissions from the local authorities to have people moving around on their motorbikes and going to people's homes. We noticed that people welcomed us because at that point in time, whether for entertainment or for information or for news, etc., television had become a very central piece. And especially for people living alone, senior citizens living alone in their homes. It wasn't just senior citizens. You'll be surprised. Our people actually went into hospitals, into COVID wards where at the peak of the first wave, where there were see, when you're suffering from COVID and lying in a hospital bed, you're not incapacitated. You're still able to watch and enjoy television as such. So functioning of the television in the COVID ward is equal. So they had to wear PPE suits. They had to follow all the sanitization measures and walk in, not touch anything. Whatever they touch, they sanitize after them and stuff like that. So it wasn't a very large number. But each person that they serviced, I know, sent us a mail thanking us like, we'd done them a huge favor.
Wow.
A huge favor, because that's when we realized that, how important the role we play in people's lives.
Brilliant. That's fabulous. Back to the industry and how it's changing and there is, on one hand, there is smart TVs, there is internet penetration, a lot of people, watching stuff on their phones, and then there is the DTH piece, and, how is the OTT aggregation piece going to really work for younger people, right? They're used to seeing stuff on their phone. What do you think is going to happen in the industry as a whole?
Like I said, the younger people also are part of a family, in India at least. And they go back home to sleep and somebody pays their bills. So, like I explained earlier, if their bill for content consumption also becomes a part of the family's bill, it helps everyone. It's good for everyone. So that's our attempt to run 2 separate platforms, yet bundle them to whatever extent they can. They both run on separate technologies. They both offer separate facilities. They both offer different content most of the time. Yet that's content, and people intermittently change between the two.
Okay, now let's come to the big one. What mandated the rebranding of Tata Sky into Tata Play?
That's a good one. Rishi, what really happened was, for 2 years we've been trying to sell Binge, and every time we went to somebody and said, hey, you can watch OTT platforms on Binge, which is from Tata Sky, then Tata Play now. They turned out and said, but you are television. OTT is competition to you. How can you sell OTT? And we said, no, but since that's the emerging need, and that's also about content, and that's about content aggregation and making content discovery easy. All those principles we pulled out of television and brought it here, and who better than us to do that? Didn't cut ice. We had to wear a new set of clothes call ourselves something else, to go to people and say, hey, we are content distributors, we're not just television distributors. And that's what prompted the need to change the name.
Brilliant. I know you like to meet customers firsthand, and I believe you did a lot of travel post the rebranding recently. How was your on-ground experience post-COVID and all of the changes that have happened been?
We do that. Not just me, most of my team does that. We go travel into the insides of the country, go meet customers, regardless of whether they are my customers or not. We meet them any which way, and that's what gives you the insights to improve the quality of the product that we serve. And that's what prompted the need for Binge also in the first place. Yeah, I was kind of pleasantly surprised. I remember 3 days after we rebranded, and I was in UP and I was in Bihar for a couple of days and went into the deepest of the villages and asked them, Tata Sky dekhte ho? And the guys looked at me, and most of the people looked at me and said, Tata Sky nahi, Tata Play hai. And we knew our job was done. We knew our job was done the day they said that. I mean, that's exactly what we were aiming for.
Sweet. But you've decided to keep Jingalala, Harit, despite the change in brand. I love it. I'm not complaining. I just wanted to understand your thinking behind that decision, which is a great one, though.
Jingalala's transition has not only transcended agencies, advertising agencies, it is also now transcending brands.
Yeah.
This would probably be the only, if you do some research, this would be probably the only slogan which has gone across agencies and brands, both. It was formulated by Rediffusion. The brand went to Ogilvy. And we moved from Tata Sky to Tata Play, and Jingalala continues. And the lesson really is that if something's working, why kick it?
Just getting back to and what's your focus now that so much of content is available, and how will you help make consumers' lives easier now? How does it?
Our job becomes even more important. The job of an aggregator becomes even more important because our job is to A, make all the content available to the customer, and B, make content discovery easy. When there were, say, 600 channels, of which I watched 25 channels, I had to just go around those 25 channels and look for what's playing right now. Right now, there are a million pieces of content on OTT lying there, or maybe more. To be able to filter out from there what I should be watching tonight is an even tougher task. And so the aggregator's role becomes even more important. So our job really is, we are actually more an aggregator is more cut out for an OTT scenario than a television scenario. Even more.
Okay, but thinking like a typical creative person, whenever I look at a brand or a logo, comms, I'm always thinking who are the people behind it, who's created this and stuff like that. So I just like you to reel off your partners or collaborators in the new logo, in the new communication, spreading the awareness about the brand, renaming it, and of course the commercials. Who directed that, who executed that. I need all the deets.
So yeah, there is, Ogilvy has been a long-standing partner always, and they give us the space. And so we basically tell them, look, we know what we do, so you don't play with that, and we know what you know what you do, so we will not play with that. You're allowed your freedom, we should be allowed our freedom, and that's a nice line that's been working with us. That line we draw between. So Ogilvy obviously was the creative agency behind this. The brand design, the design elements were done by a company based out of London called Venture 3v3, and they had helped us design the Tata Sky logo and the paraphernalia that goes along with it, and they've been instrumental in Tata Play also.
So, staying on the campaign itself, you have Kareena and Saif for Hindi-speaking markets, and you have Madhavan and Priyamani for southern markets. We love each of these ads. What's the reason behind choosing this set of these guys for the campaign, and what do they add to the campaign?
We are known for entertainment. Our job is to entertain people, our subscribers, every evening once they're done with their day. So even the campaign that is supposed to introduce us or reintroduce us had just one brief: make it entertaining, and the rest was easy. It is an entertaining campaign, and it gives out the message while entertaining you, and that's what worked.
And filmed by Shujit Da, if I'm not mistaken, Shujit Sarkar.
Shujit handled that. He's the only one who could have handled 18 films in 2 days in the middle of third wave. This shoot happened around the 7th or 8th of January. We were at the peak of the third wave. And Shujit's the only one who could have handled 18 cuts in those 2 days.
I have to tell you, Ramesh, that when the 18 cuts came out, Harit WhatsApped me, and I spent the next half an hour of my life just watching it like, a short film. Great stuff.
It was, and you're right, because the objective really was not communication. The objective was brainstorming, essentially. Brainwashing, not brainstorming. It was a brand that had been around for 15 years, 16 years. You got exposed to it every day, and you liked it also. Now to suddenly say, okay, from tomorrow it will be called something else. You need something of this size, this scale, this nature to brainwash Tata Sky into Tata Play. And that's why the 18 films.
It's not really a CEO question. It's more a tech guy question or more of a comms question, but I'm still going to go ahead and ask you a little more about the binge app. What is the functionality that makes it really easy for consumers to use?
Basically, two things. One, you don't do commercial relationship with 12, 13, 14, 15 apps. So you're not waiting, today is the second, so this app is expiring, I need to recharge that. Then today is the third, my other app is expiring, I need to recharge that. So all that headache goes away. One. And second, like I said, it's got one front end with multiple back ends. So you only get to see one screen. You don't have to toggle between multiple screens. And that's what helps. It's like, going and buying a shirt from, if you want to buy a shirt, you go to 12 shirt shops and look at 12 shops and then decide that the second shop and the fourth shop and the seventh shop had a good shirt. Then you go back to those versus going into a department store and looking for a shirt, your size, your style from across brands out of one aisle. And and then we've used technology to make that happen.
That's the perfect analogy. And your departmental store background also helps them.
Yes.
You also looked at changes in your, the way you charge customers and you've offered them some incentives or you're not charging them for reconnection and stuff. Just tell us about that.
So it was about what I said earlier. People subscribe to us to watch content, not to speak with us. And so therefore we have to make it easy and simple for them to deal with us. And two things that were coming in the way in the past. The first was, it's a prepaid platform. There are times when I don't recharge because I'm out of station, my kids have got exams, 100 other reasons why I do not recharge and I want to give it a break. If I give it a break, why should I have to pay some extra charges, even though the regulator allows me to reconnect? So we'd done away with that ages ago. We actually never charged that, made that charge. Of late, we've been noticing that as we, if something happens, something wrong happens to your box or your dish antenna or to your service, and a service technician has to come and visit your home.
A visit charge that you call it.
Service visit charge of 175 rupees. Small amount, much smaller than what you would pay for your washing machine or your dishwasher or something else. 175 rupees. But still, that was also coming in the way. And we said, why should the customer pay for it? Because over the years, we've reduced the instances of service requirement. So let's put our money where the mouth is and make ourselves responsible for it. So that becomes then a target to even further reduce the need for service. So we eliminated that too when we launched Tata Play.
Harit, as a South Indian who's pretty much grown up north of the Vindhyas, it's always fascinated me. Marketing in the north as opposed to marketing in the south, also media vehicles that you would choose, for example, to carry your message to the north or the south, because you're a national brand.
Not very different, especially in our business, because we are in the content business. So we ride on the content that we sell. Anybody who is watching television or anybody now who's watching OTT apps is our customer. So why do we need, so at best I can add radio. Since I'm speaking to you, I will say I will add radio to it. But it's, again, we ride on the content that our subscribers consume. So whether it's the north, south, east, west, or wherever, we generally ride on the content that our subscribers consume.
Rishi, I hope you'll follow up with him on that radio piece.
You'd be surprised, actually, Harit and me don't talk business apart from these interviews.
No, at this time, you please get him to talk business. So the other one is your broadband business. You've apparently rebranded that as well. How is that going, and how has that changed in the last couple of years?
So our broadband business is a very niche business. It's not a mass market business. We're not present in many cities. We're also not present in all the colonies or buildings of the cities that we're present in also. We basically cater to a niche where we are going after customers who don't want any disturbance in their video, and their life depends on video, whether it is for entertainment or for calls or whatever. So if they are discerning customers, a handful of them, and are willing to pay for error-free service, Tata Play it is. And we were calling it broadband while all of it was delivered on fiber. And fiber connotes something else versus broadband. Broadband can be delivered on any medium. Fiber is reliable broadband. So we said, why not call it fiber? Why call it broadband? So when the time came to change the brand from Tata Sky to Tata Play, we called it Tata Play Fiber.
Yeah, but obviously, so many people were indoors, Harit. So it has translated into more internet and broadband connections, I imagine.
Yes, it has. And even usage, every time we had lockdowns or semi-lockdowns, the first wave, second wave, third wave, you could see the increase in consumption in those months of lockdown. When people are not going to work and are sitting at home, and children are studying, people are chatting, work is going on. I mean, the volume goes up. So dependence obviously goes up when you work from home.
Harit, I look at your incredible career. I mean, I'm talking almost 4 decades. There's been Lakme, Marico, PepsiCo, Shoppers Stop, Vodafone, now Tata Play. I don't know if I'm missing something out. Difficult to encompass, 35, 37, almost 40 years of learnings. But again, if anybody can do it in a nutshell, it's you. Your learnings from all these wonderful experiences.
Only one, which is that in the end, it's a consumer. So it's not the technology you need to bother about, it's the customer's needs that you need to bother about. Because across all these 6 companies, the customer was the same. The same guy or the girl was using the lipsticks and the moisturizing lotion. He was using oils, and he was shopping at stores, and he was drinking the Pepsi, and he was using a phone, and he's now watching television and an app. It's the same customer, it's not different. So you got to go look for that customer's needs. You focus on that, look for his needs, and then use technology to enable products and services for that customer's needs. You have a business.
With that, we sort of get into the lifestyle section where we discuss everything that's beyond the business side of it. We'd like to know who's the business leader that you've really admired, and what are the qualities in him or her that really stood out for you?
There have been many, but yeah, I would say Steve Jobs is tops, because he was the person who at least went against the grain, went against conventional logic, and actually looked at the insights and built products based on insights and not verbatim what the customer told him. I mean, I remember that era when there used to be a brand of phone which each one of us, including you and I, used. And the hallmark of that brand was that at any given point in time, there used to be 20, 25 models in the market running. To come out with one phone, one model, one variant against those 20 was unconventional logic. Just one insight. So, you need courage, you need guts to do something like that. And it worked. It changed the shape of the industry.
Let's get into music. So, what's your playlist like? Have the kids influenced your playlist? And apart from playlist, memories of any music concert or gig that you went to recently? I mean, before the pandemic, obviously, if you could share with us.
You and I have discussed this many years ago. You may have forgotten, but I remember. And I used to always wonder, why did my playlist stop at 1985, 86?
Yeah, that's why I'm saying I was hoping maybe the kids have had some influence.
Oh, and you gave me a very good insight. And you said, for you to start liking and humming and listening to something again, you have to listen to that piece of music 5 times in one week. And then it grows on you. And after you turn 25 or 30, chances of that happening reduce. And it's still holding for me. So you don't get an opportunity to listen. If you listen to something and you like it, but it starts growing in you after you heard it 5 times in succession. And that opportunity doesn't come. So my playlist is still stuck at the 80s, 70s and 80s. So that's where we are. And gigs, I don't remember. I don't even remember when was the last time I went for a gig. There used to be these behind BKC some concerts that used to happen in our past life, maybe. And even they've stopped for over 10 years. And so there aren't many opportunities for that. I went and saw Boy George once in Singapore. I happened to be there, and he was there. Again, my genre, my age, my generation.
Karma, Chameleon, Black Money.
Yes. Super. So that was fun.
Great. What about a book that's made an impact on you or left an impact?
Oh, many. There are many lines behind me. Simon Sinek, Infinite Game.
Yeah.
That's right. And then there are a few others, but he stops. I would say whatever he writes, whatever he podcasts, whatever he speaks, whatever he writes, I would read that.
A sport you follow and your favorite player in that sport?
Not much. Seriously, I don't follow many sports, so I'm a little different there.
Your favorite vacation spot then, and why you love going there?
Anything that's different from the last spot, so it's got to be different. It's like, I shouldn't have been there before. And that's my favorite vacation spot. Just last 2 weeks ago, we went to leopard spotting about 3 hours away from Jodhpur. And I was kind of amazed, somewhere close to Jawai Dam. I was kind of amazed at the landscape. I could not imagine that we would have landscape like that in this country. It's really beautiful. Will I go there again? I'm not sure. But because I went there for the first time, I loved it.
Nice. Well, Harit, after almost 4 decades of leadership roles across sectors, I just marvel at how one thing is always the same. There's no BS. You get straight to the point. Not for you, the frittering around and the moving around. And I love that you have the energy of a child to still say, whatever it is that the consumer wants, I'm going to go out there and make it happen for him. Gotta love that about you. Thank you for being on our show. Keep inspiring.
Pleasure always. Thank you, Hrishi. Thanks, Ramesh.
Yeah, and I must say that as a business leader, what we are inspired by is the fact that you have that customer centricity. You told us the customer is exactly the same wherever you went. You're focused on that customer. Thanks for being on the show. This was fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Well, with that, it's time to wrap up another episode of season 2. But not before I give you a heads up on something really special that's happening on the women empowerment front, since it's International Women's Month. 3 days from now, 25th of March, to celebrate women from all walks of life, we bring you a virtual award ceremony felicitating She Slays champions chosen by an eminent jury, a roundtable of women breaking through stereotypes and cliches. And this event will be hosted by Radio 1 presenters and the editor of Health Shots.
Yes, healthshots.com is a health and wellness destination for the millennial woman. And we're very excited about our She Slays campaign for International Women's Month. And there are also these amazing awards. To join us on the 25th of March.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Make sure you keep listening to some great radio and podcasts. Please build that habit.
And come back next week for another episode of Minding My Business.
Just some credits. We're going to be back with another captain of the industry who's been a path breaker next time. You can catch us on 94.3 Radio 1 on FM radio, HT Smartcast in podcast form over all major streaming platforms. It's a Radio 1 production. So till next week, it's bye from me, Hrishi K.
And me, Ramesh Menon. See you soon.
Thanks for watching. If you like this video, then subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so you don't miss out on more content.